Stop. You're not out in the wild. He keeps scratching his dog bed to lay down. Hey, everybody. Welcome to chapter 2. Those of you watching new on. This is totally alignment and easily, effortlessly being created. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches. Think about that. Have you ever heard anybody say, I want to be good, I want to become good at acquiring riches? What do they say? I want to be rich. We all talk, and what do? They get stuck in strategy. Why not say, I want to be good at acquiring riches? Almost had a Bubba Wallace moment. I want to be good at acquiring witches. For those of you that aren't old enough, Barbara Walters, you can go Google a video of hers. How do you become, what are the things you want to, you need to, you should desire to become good at acquiring riches? What do you need to become better at? What do you need to become a better acquirer? Because let me let you in on a little secret. Everything you have currently acquired. Everything you have, the way that you look at money, the way that you look at words, the way that you look at people, the way that you look at things, the way that you look at opportunities of reconstructing your life, aka failures, the opportunities you have at maintaining the successes in your life, aka your successes. Once these laws are learned and obeyed by any man, he will get rich with mathematical certainty. Now, why don't we study this instead of algebra? Just saying. The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. Those who do things in a certain way, capital C, capital W, certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich, while those who do not do things in a certain way, no matter how hard. Did Sean freeze? No, he just said the word hard and then froze. No matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. It is a natural law that like causes it is a natural law that like causes always produce like effects, and therefore any man or woman who learns to do things in a certain way will infallibly get rich. That the above statement is true is shown by the following fact. This is going to be one of the questions that we get to in just a moment. Getting rich is not a matter of environment. For if it were, all people in certain neighborhoods would become wealthy. The people in one city would be all rich, and while those of other towns would all be poor, or inhabitants of one state, or the inhabitants of one state would roll in wealth, while those in the adjoining state would be in poverty. But everywhere we see rich and poor living side by side in the same environment, often engaged in the same vocations. When two men are in the same locality and in the same business, one gets rich while the other remains poor. It shows that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. Some environments may be more favorable than others. But when two men in the same business are in the same neighborhood and one gets rich while the other fails, it indicates that getting rich is a result of doing things in a certain way. And further, the ability to do things in this certain way is not due solely to the possession of talent, For many people who have great talent remain poor, while others who have very little talent get rich. Studying the people who have not got rich, we find that they are an average lot in all respects, having no greater talents and abilities than other man. In this, it is evident that they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities that other men have not. I'm sorry, studying the people, did I say who have not got rich? Did that Dr. Freud get in there in the first sentence? I'm reading that going, studying the people who have got rich. Thank you. We find that they are an average lot in all respects, having no greater talents and abilities than those other men. It is evident that they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities that other men do not have, but because they do things in a certain way. How hard is it to understand? How hard is it to allow in this concept, this philosophy of a certain way? We keep getting into strategy, don't we? Well, how do I need to do it different? Do I need to do it harder? Do I need to work harder? What do I have to do? What's the certain way? Tell me the certain way. If I ever did a new version of this, I might call it the certain state. Way alludes to strategy. If we say there, it's not about doing certain states, it's about doing things in a state that's certain. What if we upgraded it? It's not about you do it in a certain state. You do a lot of things in a certain state. But what if we did it in a state that's certain? AKA gratitude, chapter 7. What if we did things in a state that's certain, and the state that's certain is a state of gratitude? How often? Always and forever. What if we did it in a state that's certain? This is just listen, you're watching this live. I could be totally gone around the bend. I had cream mushroom soup and corn for dinner. Cuckoo. It's not about doing certain states. It's about doing a state that's certain. Maybe it might catch on. You were here first. You heard it first here, live on WKRP in Cincinnati. Getting rich is not a result of saving or thrift. Many very penurious people are poor, while free spenders often get rich. Nor is getting rich due to doing things which others fail to do. How often do we hear that? We got to do you got to be willing to do the things that others aren't. Nor is getting rich to do things which others fail to do. For two men in the same business often do almost exactly the same thing, and one gets rich while the other remains poor or becomes bankrupt. From all these things, we must come to the conclusion that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain state. If getting rich is doing things in a certain state, and if like causes always produce like effects, then any man or woman who can do things in that certain way, certain state, become rich, and the whole matter is brought within the domain of exact science. If you've ever seen a pipe, if you've ever seen a water pipe and water ran through it, your kitchen sink, the faucet, right? You run hot water through the faucet, it gets hot. You run cold water through the faucet, it gets cold. How does it know? How does it know? How does it know? How does a faucet know? Does the faucet have intelligence? No, there's a thinking stuff already inside of it that fills the spaces. And when the water goes through it, it transforms, it changes the way the faucet appears. Think about that. Does the faucet change the way it appears? And does it do it in an exact science? It doesn't get any hotter than the water coming through it or colder than the water coming through it. It is an exact replica of the way the water flows through it, so becomes the faucet. How many of us have had joy flowing through us and refuse to have joy on the outside of us? How many of us have had pain flowing through us and refuse to have the pain on the outside of us? Right? We push it down, push it down, push it down, push him back, push him back, push him way back. Give me a D, give me an E, F-E-N-C-E. The question arises here, whether this certain way may not, the question arises here, whether this certain way may not be so difficult that only a few may follow it. This cannot be true. As we have seen, so far as natural ability is concerned, talented people get rich and blockheads get rich. I love this line. Intellectually brilliant people get rich and the very stupid people get rich. Physically strong get rich and the weak and sickly people get rich. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential. But insofar as natural ability is concerned, any man or woman who has sense enough to read and understand these words can certainly get rich. This question arises here whether this certain way may not be so difficult that only a few can follow it. What say you? Think about that. Is the certain way so absolutely beyond reach that only a handful of people know it? The Secret tells us that only a handful of people knew it. It's anyone who knew it. They wanted, it was so, think about this. Just think about this. Let's keep this safe. Why would they want to keep something that would allow wealth to be so magnanimous, so unanimous, so easily transferable that they kept the secret safe? Is it because it's too difficult to do? Did they say, let's keep these poor souls from having to deal with pain and suffering and the anguish of controlling your thoughts and being in charge and being in gratitude? Let's keep that from them because it could hurt too much. Maybe it's because it's too easy. And we have been wired that riches are so difficult, so hard, that once we get a bunch, it's going to slip away from us and we're going to have to rebuild. Also, we have seen that it is not a matter of environment. Location counts for something. One would not want to go to the heart of the Sahara and expect to do successful business. Getting rich involves the necessities of dealing with men and women and of being where there are people to deal with. That first part is the big part, though. Getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with people. What does it mean to deal with people? Ah, they're idiots. Yeah, that's dealing them a hand, but how do you deal with the people that are around you, that are in your environment? How do you adjust the way you look at things? Right? This may be where Wayne Dyer got it. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. How many of you have had some real awkward first impression meetings and they later became best friends? You're like, there's no way. This a-hole ain't no way, ain't no how, ain't no, not a snowball's chance in Haiti. And then all of a sudden, getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with men and women and of being where there are people to deal with. And if these people are inclined to deal in the way you want to deal, so much better. Would it make sense that in our observations of people, right? That's why Amazon does so amazing. People go because they know what they're looking for. They go shopping. All too often, people feel they're being hunted when we bring them into a business opportunity. We say we're going fishing, but what's the bait you put out? Did you put out the easy trap? Have enough money? Ooh, step in that. Yeah, no, you got me. Are you looking to trap them, or are you allowing them to trade something? If anybody in your town can get rich, so can you. And if anybody else in your state can get rich, so can you. Again, it is not a matter of choosing some particular business or profession. People get rich in every business and in every profession, while their next door neighbor is in the same vocation, remain in poverty. It is true that you will do your best in a business which you like and which is congenial to you. And if you have certain talents, listen, me becoming a bra model, probably not going to be a good business for me. I probably wouldn't get hired for that. And this is how I break the stress. But sorry that you can't get that image out of your head. Hopefully you'll be able to do that. Fork in the eye, fork in the eye. Ah! It is true that you will do. I don't listen. I don't know why these things come to my head. It's just what if it comes in, it comes out. There's no filtering going on right now. It is true that you will do best in the business you like, which is congenial to you. And if you have certain talents which are well developed, there's a key word, underline that, pay attention to that, which are well developed. We have whatever it is that we want to do, it is required by us to have well developed. We need to continually sharpen the saw. Some of you have been with me from day one. You've seen me shift, you've seen me change, you've seen me sharpen the saw. And sometimes there's a sharpening, then sometimes there's a new sword that comes out. I lay down the old one. Yeah, you ever see those fish knives? How many of you ever been around a real fisherman who's got that knife that goes really skinny at the top, and it was a big, long, big, wide knife in the beginning, but they have sharpened it and sharpened it and sharpened it. And what has it become? Their favorite knife. It's time to sharpen your skills. What are the well-established, well-developed talents that you need to focus on? This is where you can have more of what you want and less of what you don't by focusing on the one thing. What's the main thing? Covey said it best. Keep the main thing the main thing. What's your main thing? If it's dealing with people, then get better at dealing with people. It's not your product. It's not your ingredients. It's not your comp plan. Get better at dealing with people. You will do your best in a business which calls for you to exercise, who calls for the exercise of those talents. Also, you will do best in a business which is suited to your locality. An ice cream parlor would do better in a warm climate than in Greenland. And a salmon fishery would do better in the Northeast than in Florida, where there are no salmon. But aside from those general limitations, getting rich is not dependent upon your engaging in some particular business upon which you're learning to do things, but upon your learning to do things in a certain way. But aside from those general limitations, getting rich does not depend upon you engaging in some particular business, but it does depend upon you learning to do things in a certain way. If you are now in a business and anybody else in your locality is getting rich in the same business while you're not getting rich, it is because you are not doing things in the same way that the other person is doing them. This is network marketing all over the place, right? You're in the same business. They're getting rich. You're not getting rich. It's not a matter of environment. It's not a matter of talent. It's not a matter of education. It's not a matter of anything. It's a matter of certain way. What's the certain way? What's the certain way? Dealing with your own ability to be rejected. Addiction to approval. That's the certain way. How do I uncover that? How do I, what happens if we switch that there? What if there was never any rejection? There's just not right now. What if there was never any rejection? I'm listening to, it's an old book. It was written about the time these guys wrote their book. Wake Up and Live by Dorothea Brand. She gives you the exact secret in there that changed her life. And it was to act as if you could not fail. And guess what? You won't fail. That's the certain way. That's the certain way. It's not about what, I don't know, they don't know, I don't know, they don't know. In the last week, from people that I have spoken to, in the last week alone, between things that have been dropped into my life, things that have been dropped into their life, over $30,000 has been gifted to people or repaid or earned. Just in this handful of people that are here. And some of you haven't even shared with me some of the things that have happened in your life. But this is about the energetic field of doing things in a certain way. This is what Carnegie talked about, of getting people to work in harmony. Isn't that the certain way? How can we operate in a level of harmony? Now, harmony, when we listen to people sing, is harmony singing the same note? I don't know. I'm not a music person. I don't think it is. No. Harmony is singing a note that is an absolute vibrational frequency, vibrational love with the other note. And it makes the one note sound better. It makes the two notes sound better. They are in harmony together. So can you allow your customers to work in harmony with you? Can you get them tuned? Can you get them in tune with the harmony of vision? Not your vision, the harmony of vision. Daniela's got tail, plays basketball. Don't know that she was a big basketball player in school. But she isn't, okay, so but you played a little different kind of basketball. You played girls basketball. Same ball. Your hoops weren't any lower. They were still 10 feet. You played on the same size basketball court. We didn't play on a girls' court, right? So even more difficult, had to have more arm strength to shoot the ball up to the thing, right? To get it to the hoop. But she can be in harmony with her son, who's younger than her, a boy, and playing in basketball court she's never played on, never dribbled on. But you can be in harmony with him. Y'all get this? You can be in harmony. I can be in harmony with every one of you where you're sitting right now. You've got the book, you're looking at it. It may or may not have the same words. It probably doesn't have the same words because I add words in. You're like, it doesn't say that in my book. No, that's just Sean. It's Sean's certain way. But we can be in harmony with it. Think about that. The organization that you're looking to build, and whatever organization you're wanting to build, whether it's customers, whether it's business leaders, your goal is to have them operate in harmony, in unison, in symphonic accordance. No matter how poor you may be, if you begin to do things in a certain way, I hope this is the one where he talks about the rug. I hope it is. No matter how poor you may be, if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich. And you will begin to have capital. Bob Proctor said all the time, do the thing, and you'll have it. Start to do the thing, you'll have the power to do the thing. If you begin doing things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich and you will begin to have the capital. The getting of capital is part of the process of getting rich. And if it is part of the result, which invariably follows the doing of things in a certain way, you may be the poorest man on the continent and be deeply in debt. How much debt was Rhonda Byron when she started telling this story, right? Yeah, a little over a nickel. None of us are in that much debt right now. I was only in $1 million. I think she was $2 million, and her business was 6 weeks away from going bankrupt. Tell me how much faith you have to have. Imagine you're 3 months behind in your mortgage payment, and they're starting to put, with all of the things that have happened in our world, and they're starting to put the paperwork together to really come down on eviction. They don't even want to do it. They don't. I mean, you talk about bad press for a bank. But enough is enough, and they're saying enough is enough, and you're 3 months away, and every credit card you have is maxed, and everything you have is maxed, and everything is max. How hard is it to have the faith to be in a certain way? As hard as you make it. You don't own the debt. If you own the debt, you could control the debt. If you own the dog, you control the dog. If it ain't your dog, you can't control it. And every one of you are not letting yourself control your dog. Name your damn dog. It's my debt. I got it. This is the tapping. You have to have a current statement. If you don't have a current statement, then you can't have a current progress forward. How many of you have GPS on your phone? It asks you, what location would you like to start from? Put mine. Put my 282 Ember Road, Shirley, Arkansas, 72153, and see how well you get directions. Proceed to Ember Road. There's no Ember Road around here. I don't know. It says proceed. It's the directions I put in. I want to lie to myself and say I'm someplace different. Thank goodness we don't have to enter it like we did on our TomTom. Anybody ever have a TomTom you set on the dash? I got my TomTom giving me directions, recalculating. Oh, crap. I missed the turn. You get back on recalculating. Would you hurry up with the recalculation? I keep driving past the same exit. You may be the poorest man on the continent and be deeply in debt, and you may have neither friends. Here you go. Here's what every millennial is saying. Everyone that's under 30 is going, you may neither have friends or influence. I got to have influence. I got to have influence. Right? Woody the Woodpecker. Got to have influence. Got to have influence. Nor resources. But if you begin to do things in this way, the certain way, you must infallibly begin to get rich. For like causes produce like effects. How many of you, from your gratitudes that you've been doing in the mornings, have you seen something evidence? Have you had evidence appear in your life within the next hour? If you did your gratitude in a way that changed the way you look at things, it changed the state of you. Did you not have evidence? Did you not have an echo come rushing into your life going, your wish is my command? Because if you ain't doing your gratitude. You ain't doing it the way, you ain't doing it in the certain way. You're doing it to check the box. I did my gratitude and nothing good happened. Well, listen, Mustafa, you did it with, you wanted to kill the paper. I will fill paper in and I'll do it in an Irish accent. I'll be filling the paper in so I can be going to get a pint. I got to get the hell through this thing. They want me to do that. This is what I have to suffer through to get a pint of Guinness, for God's sake. It ain't happening, Gizmo. For like causes must produce like effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you're in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. And if you are in the wrong location, you can get to the right location. And you can do so by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in a certain way, which causes success. This is where we fail. We think we got to be over there before we start doing the stuff. I got to be over there before I can do my thing. The only time that works is when you got to go to the bathroom. You got to be in a bathroom to go to the bathroom. Otherwise, you kind of get laughed at. I don't know where this stuff is coming from, and I ain't apologizing for it because it's got to be doing something. I don't know. You can do so beginning in your present business and in your present location to do the certain things. And listen, when what's Amazon owner's name?
Jeff Bezos.
When Bezos was in his garage sitting at the table where it says Amazon on a chalkboard on the side, did he have the educational knowledge of an international global CEO of the largest company in the world? No, but here's the thing. You don't have to be a big company to act like a big company. You don't have to be a big business person to begin to act like a big business person. Act like the $1 million business owner that you are. How did it become? He was in the wrong place. Is all of the Amazon centers that he has in where his garage was, or did he move? Come on, use logic. Where you start isn't where you're going to end up, and you have to be okay with the transition. But you have to start. You can't, what is it? The phrase go, you can't start making brand new, you can't start and make a brand new beginning, but you can start and make a brand new ending. Something like that, right? Y'all know the phrase I'm talking about? But you got to start, and you have to act as if there is no failure, because there is no failure unless you want to fail. That's the only reason failure exists. And if this book by Dorothea Brand, she says, we are wired, we are taught that the only success in life, this is going to hurt. This is why I haven't shared it with anybody. Don't go off and reading it. Do not take your attention away from Science of Getting Rich. You can. I ain't your boss and I ain't your warden, but I'm going to please encourage you. I don't know that your mind is ready with what all of the sensitive topics that we're covering between gratitude in the morning and this. Let's get through this before we dive into that. But she says we are wired. The only success we have, listen carefully, is failure. That's the only place we get praise. And it's the way we get wired. We complain about our failures. We use them as badges of honors with our friends. Nobody calls me and says, you won't believe what happened today. Oh my God, the joy in my life today. Sometimes when it's overwhelmingly powerful, it's like the stuff's hit the fan. I'm so good at understanding that and wired myself now. In the beginning, I used to aggravate the bejeebies out of me. It's like, what do I look like? A pincushion? No, now I look like a source of light and life. Call me, dump it off here, leave it at the ranch, drop it, airmail it, drop it by plane, train. What's the song by Sade? Or something. I take a oh no, get out the back, Jack. That's a different song. Make a new plan, Stan. Gotta be coy, Roy. Just listen to me. Get on the bus, Gus. Don't need to discuss much. Just drop off the key, Lee. And set yourself. Sorry for the earworm. You'll have the rest of the night. Like causes must produce like effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you're in the wrong business, you can get in the right business. And if you're in the wrong location, you get in the right location. You can do so by beginning in your present. You have to start now where you are. You don't need to move anyplace else. In your present business and in your present location, doing things in a certain way, which causes success. And that's it. Didn't know that was the end of the chapter. So, questions that are in the workbook. Workbook. What are some big things that hit you with this? What are some takeaways you've got so far? What are some of the notes that you got going down?
The certain state or state that is certain. That's huge.
Yeah, isn't that huge? Certainly is.
Easy to do, easy not to do.
Listen, to begin, none of it's difficult.
Right.
So why is it so? So let's chat about this, because this is how we go build massive organizations if we can teach this. What's the shift? What is it that somebody has to get to? At what point do they have to get to? Why does it have to be crisis mode in order to do the easy thing? In order to do the certain way? Why do we have to? What is it that we resist so much in giving up the way that doesn't work?
Because we don't have a new story. And we might believe sometimes that we do, but we don't, because if you did,
So,
you'd.
how does a new story come about? Where does a new story? Where's the genesis? This is why I created the project Pseudopsychogenesis, the death of a thought so a new thought can be born. Pseudopsychogenesis. So how do we give the new thought? We do it at events, right? We've got that phrase, big decisions are made at big events, but nobody does a damn thing when they get home. I made a big decision, but I ain't gonna do nothing. Slip out the back, Jack.
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay. So maybe is this a key then? So how do we come up with the new story? Other people tell us about our new story. Oh my God, you'd be a genius at this. You're so good at this. You do it so naturally. What do I do naturally? And then we put up the resistance. What's the phrase? I'm asking. I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm asking. We maybe are touching on something that nobody, this is the third rail in the subways. Nobody wants to touch this question because we all assume the answer of it. What's the transition from old story to new story? Because it has to happen when and can only happen when, and that when is now. Doesn't have to be your now, but whenever it happens, it will be a now, because it can't be a past and it can't be a future. We have to boil all of life's worries and wishes and all of life's dreams and wants into one moment and decide which one's going to win out. Is it because go ahead.
Now.
Say it again.
I think that's where I'm at now, so I'm having a hard time to.
Okay. So you're our live test subject. So what do you spend your days thinking about?
Honestly, Sean, Nothing.
Right. So what is in control then? The subconscious. And you're still having 80,000 thoughts a day. 70,000. Cello's doing something different. If he's in the house, he can knock something over. It's a different something or the same something in a different time in a different place. So everything is different, but it's familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So how much thought do we have to do in familiar?
Not much.
None, really. We have to do no thought. And the brain loves that. Doesn't the brain love not having to think?
Yeah, but it does damage to my soul and body.
Right. But this is right. So what are the three things? Body, mind, and soul that Waddles talks about. We have to be able to take care of all three, because sacrificing the mind for the body or sacrificing how many people do we know that are great weightlifters that can't read a book? Not saying everybody, but their influence is based upon their shape, not based on their echo. So how could you begin doing things in a certain way? What do you think might be a certain way? And this is where thinking, right? There is a thinking stuff. It doesn't say there is a bonbon stuff that you sit on your couch and gain great wisdom from.
I know what I need to do. I just don't want to do it.
Okay. So which part of you doesn't want to do it? The old identity. Can't be the new identity. The new identity would never want to do the old.
Yeah. It got worse after we had our conversation.
Shocking.
Yeah. Like last night, I went till 4, or actually this morning.
Okay. Yeah, but you worked last night.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I know.
My mind worked.
Right. So why would you do that? What's the new stories? This is why we have to ask. So do I have your permission to help?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have your permission to make you feel uncomfortable?
Yes.
Do I have your permission to take you out of that uncomfortable feeling?
Yes.
Okay. So let me make you uncomfortable. How many more days do you want to stay like this?
0.
Okay.
Me pointing 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think we can do to get out of this state? Are you paying attention to her body language? This is important because this is how you know you're triggering things. The conversation that has to happen now cannot be logical. This is for anyone that you're speaking to. If you have a logical conversation with him, you can both build giant bridges right now. But you'll never move the first stone. It has to be totally emotional. And this is where we struggle because we don't want to go down in the hole with them. So what's the shift? What's the change? Let me ask you this question. This is the first question in chapter 2, at the end of chapter 2. What causes the ownership of money and property?
What causes what?
What causes the ownership of money and property? A desire, yes?
Yeah. I was going to say time,
No,
but no.
no. It's a desire. It's a want. It's a want for the feeling. And you didn't even want this house. You wanted the feeling this house gave you. January 4th, you're moving, all of this stuff. And now there's been times where I'm getting the heck out of this place. This place is driving me nuts. But at the time, it was a godsend. So it's a desire, it's a want, it's a wish, it's a clear vision. You have a deadline on it. You had a deadline. The first easily, effortlessly got extended 4 days. Didn't say it was any less chaotic, but that was a certain way. You went into this in a certain way. The real estate agent asked in a certain way, and what was impossible right? It was impossible, wasn't it? It became easily possible. So that was a certain way. You've done the certain way. So what causes the ownership of money and property? A certain way. So if owning money and property, let's add another thing in there. What causes the ownership of money, property, and state of mind? A certain way. How many times has Teo come to you and said, Mom, I got to tell you something? You're like, oh, God. I got an A in school today. Oh, yay! Right? We were wired thinking that it's going to be hell on wheels, and it turned out to be amazing. Right? Your boss calls you in and says, I need you to come into my office and sit down. You're like, oh, for the love of God. I want to make you manager. Well, I didn't. What? Prove that getting rich is not a matter of environment. I got rich as a farm boy. I didn't have the grades. Now, sometimes we think I got to have my bad thing so I can have a badge of honor. No, your badge of honor is you can start faster than anyone else because you don't have to go through the pain. That is not the necessity. That is not the certain way that you got to have a rough life. But most people we see who are successful have what? Have had a rough life because they gave it up. The only reason we know that there's so many people out there that have a rough life we'll never get to meet because there's certain ways to hang on to the rough life. Prove that rich is not the result of superior talent. So what's the new story? What's your definite major purpose? Which archetype is screaming in your ear right now?
I don't hear nothing.
Okay, so let him in. Take your headphones off. Who shows up? You don't hear them because they're not yelling or because you're not even in the kingdom?
I don't know.
Get into the kingdom. Go into your courtroom. And remember, you have control over your mind. Say, I'm going into my courtroom now.
Yeah, I can't even get
Yeah, I
in
know.
there.
Right. So say, I'm going in now. Open the damn gates. Who's got the courtroom locked? Who has the castle locked down that's not letting you in? Jerry's left a note on the front door says, I'm not inside here. Please
Yeah.
don't yell at me. And yeah, I went on vacation. Call your warrior outside with you and say, kick down the damn doors. This is all of you. This is all of you going through this right now. You're witnessing it through Daniela. If you're struggling, you got to get your warrior and you've got to go take back control of your castle. Do you have a desk in front of you or something in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay, just take your hand and start doing that on it. And imagine you're beating on the big 20-foot tall door. The challenge is sometimes we let people in these moments like this give us great reasons to not continue. And there is no reason to not continue. If they gave you permission to take them out of the uncomfortable feeling. Do you remember when you were wanting to cry and your siblings wanted to make you laugh and you wanted to cry more? This is one of those moments.
Mm-mm.
So
I-
ask your queen to come outside. Ask your queen to come into your garage right there. Jasmine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine, get over there. Show up. Something's happening. Jasmine's right there. What is she saying to you? She's like, this is where you go when you leave the kingdom?
She asked me why I'm not letting them in.
Right. And now it begins. And every excuse you're giving her, she keeps tossing it aside. So tell her what it is. It's fear. She's asking you, what are you afraid of? And you say, I don't know. This is where every person you're about to have a conversation with gets to. And they do know. It's just they have put a Brinks truck around it that they don't think they own the key to it. What's your magician say?
Ask and I'll remove it.
Okay, so ask. And
It's not the conversation I wanted to have.
okay. So tell them to fix it. Is having the conversation going to fix anything, or having a new conversation going to repair it? What's the new conversation? Ask, do you need to talk about it? Ask them, do I need to express any of this, or can we just move forward?
No, I can't move forward.
Okay. So we can pick a time when we could have that conversation.
Okay.
Okay. But see, there's always something, ladies and gentlemen. And our key is to have the patience and the love and the space to allow it to be surfaced. Because otherwise, we are good. Listen, we have so much gold buried in our own experiences that we bury it along with it gets dumped on, it gets buried right with all of the pain of everything else. We lump it all together and we just go, get rid of it all. So pay attention the rest of the evening. Pay attention as we go through things the certain way, AKA awareness. What's the certain way that needs to shift? What's the certain way that we want to look at things? Remember, if you're frustrated, aggravated, agitated, They're not in the room. They might be in the house, but they're not in the room. And they're not in your dreams. This is where it takes energy and effort to do the certain way. And the certain way is to move yourself into binaural beats, songs that lift you up, and allow that feeling to come from the inside. Don't let it be shallow work. Don't let it be just in your ears. Let it be in every cell in your body. So, certain way. Prove that getting rich is not a result of saving or thrift. And question number 5 to work on, prove that getting rich is not a result of doing things that are neglected nor overlooked by others.
Just want me to interject, Danny, you're loved, young lady.
She's a lovable egg.
Yes, indeed.
Prove that doing things in a certain way is not too difficult to follow. Question 6, 7. Show how much location is important in getting rich. And then this you'll not find in any part of any workbook. The next page is the universal laws. The law of perpetual transmutation, relativity, vibration, polarity, cause and rhythm, cause and effect, law of gender. The next parts that we're going to work on tomorrow night are, this is the key to understanding the book, I believe. And it goes over and it has a page on every one of the laws. So again, I hope you have the book, the workbook. Does anybody need it? Everybody got it? Do I need to drop the PDF in the chat? Okay. Listen, this exact science, it's literally like putting yourself on the rails of a train toward your riches. Now, if you've ever tried to move a railroad engine that's an inch away from getting on the tracks to getting onto the tracks, it takes a fair amount of effort. And when you begin to do things in the certain way, power takes over, energy takes over versus strength. Who else? Thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways before I let you go for the evening? This book's a real downer. No, it's not.
Sean, I have a quick ask,
Yeah.
please.
Yes,
Can you
please. Yes.
can you either text me or email? I had it open and my husband closed all my tabs.
Oh,
I don't have the workbook.
The workbook, hang on, hold please. I'll put it right here in the
Oh, in the
I'll put it right in the
chat.
chat. Yeah.
Okay.
You can have it right now.
Thank you.
You bet. Science Getting Rich workbook PDF, 80 pages, done. And it's being sent, it's being downloaded. It should be, oh, I sent it only to Danny. Let me send it to everybody. Everybody. Do, 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 do. Science of Getting Rich. Ka-cha, ka-cha. There it is. Let me know that you get it to download. Good. Awesome. All right, my eagles, go get some rest. Think about the certain way. Let your emotions kind of guide you. See where the resistance is. This is the secret key of all skeleton keys. Understanding and being able to just slightly shift in a certain way. How many of you have a radio station in your car? I know you probably don't listen to radio, but if you do, there's how many stations that are on from in 101 in the radio frequency 101? I know in my world there's 101.1, there's 101.7, there's 101.9. In the 101, there's 3 radio frequencies. Now, if I was a ham operator, there could be dozens more. So understand, it's not about just turning on your radio. It's about tuning it and tuning it to the exact frequency called your dream. That might be the certain way. Okay. Everybody smile. Tell your face you know how to smile. Okay. All right, everybody. I love you tons. I appreciate you. I'll see y'all where?
At the next event.
The next event.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
And
you,
bye, Z, for
thank you.
now. All right. Ciao, ciao.
Right.